Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Thanks for logging on here to the latest long-range update here. Oh man, it is way above normal, is it not? A basically cloudless sky out there right now. Here we are at almost 7 o'clock at night Eastern Time. Temperatures still in the lower 80s, and it's mid to late September, folks. Wow, almost unheard of. The dry spell continues, and in fact, as we zoom out, you can see really not a whole lot really anywhere going on. Just turn on radar here for you. You got to go way out west before you see much of anything going on here. In fact, you can just get an idea of how extreme those temperatures are. Keep in mind, this is September. We really shouldn't be this warm. As I just back off to the national view, and if I just take off the data, you can just see how warm it is all across the nation. Well above normal September, and it looks like that well above normal September is going to continue as we close out the month here very soon. In fact, the latest updates now to the temperature outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center, over the next 6 to 10 days continues to take almost the entire nation well above normal, and as we go out to the 8 to 14 day, well, just really about the same. The above normal trend is going to stay for a while. Bad news with that is below normal precipitation continues for a good chunk of the nation's midsection here, and that looks like it's going to continue into the all the way through at least October 6th on this. Now, as we start to think about temperatures for what it's going to be as we head into October, no relief in sight the way things are looking right now. Again, the Climate Prediction Center saying above normal for us, the majority of the nation really, all the way through mid-October for the way things are looking right now. Well, we shall see, but we do know for the next couple of weeks it's going to stay that way. As we take a look at your 3-month probabilities from the Climate Prediction Center, just to give you an idea of their latest as we head on into the fall, the October, November, and Decembers, they're giving us the chance, greater chances here of above normal temperatures, but at least the above normal precipitation may sneak back closer towards us. Maybe we normalize is what they're thinking as we head into October and November. We could certainly use that right now because actually the latest drought monitor has us in a small drought over portions of the area. Well, right now we're just in the abnormally dry. Now this was released last Thursday, and we'll have another one released in a couple of days. I do expect this is going to expand because the reality is we just haven't had that much rain over around the area, and it doesn't look like we're going to have any rain in sight for many days to come. In fact, temperatures as you come over the next several days, you can see they're going to be hot for what we should be this time of the year. The burgundy line that I have put on here represents what the average high temperature should be right now. Average high temperature today is 69. By the time you end the period on October 7th, the average high is 69. So there's your trend line, and you can see we are staying above normal the entire time. Now, some days hitting even closer to 90. I'm a little skeptical of getting that warm, but certainly low to mid 80s I think are going to dominate a lot of the period upcoming here. Either way you cut it, that's a good 10 plus degrees in many cases, in most cases they're above where we should be. So yeah, it's just going to stay warm. With that warm, it's going to be dry. Now there is one thing I want to mention before we get into look at the surface map over the next 10 days or so. There's potential for some trouble brewing in the Gulf here. Let's just show some of the models here. And what you can see is all three of the major models are really wanting to develop a low in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, what they do with this low is a different story on each of the models. The Euro doesn't really develop it much. It sort of retrogrades that low back here. The GFS model develops it into a more robust solution, starts to move it towards us, but it doesn't make very much progress. The Canadian model actually makes pretty good progress along with that. The Canadian model develops it into a very powerful tropical storm, even hurricane status, and slams it into the coast and moves it up this way. The Canadian model has been terrible at handling the tropics. It always has been, but especially so this year. But just significant to point out here that really all three major models are showing something brewing in the Gulf of Mexico in the next week around the 28th to 30th time frame. Keep that in mind. Let's go to the GFS. Let's look at the surface map, and I just want to show you the features, what we can expect. Dry weather for the most part as I put the map into motion here. In fact, here we are all the way out through Thursday. Now we're into Friday, even into Saturday. Plenty of rain along the eastern seaboard there around the Carolinas, but nothing really coming for us, just some very pleasant weather. That changes next week, though, as we get at least a slight chance moving in. Here we come by Wednesday the 30th, and there is that low pressure formed down in the Gulf of Mexico. And let me just back up. There it starts. It kind of comes off the Yucatan Peninsula. It does something here, and notice it starts to move that low pressure towards the Gulf. But what's happening here is you've got a cold front, and that's what this little thin line of green here is some showers. So you got a low pressure way up in Canada, and you got a trailing cold front. When your low is that far detached from it, you're going to have sort of a moisture-starved front. So we're not going to go with more than a 30% chance of rain on a week from tomorrow. At this point, it looks like this is going to be a fairly dry front right now, unfortunately. But what happens is that front moves through, and this low pressure that the GFS has seen, there has really a chance to move on shore. It sort of latches onto that low pressure system, and then it gets pushed off and away from us. Now, that's important because we know we've got a potential tropical system brewing and a cold front brewing. Keep in mind that whenever you have models that are this far out, something's going to be way off usually. And so, well, what happens if this cold front doesn't move through for 2 or 3 more days, and that low pressure does get a chance to develop a little bit more and come on board? Well, it could come on just enough to be latched onto that front and sort of ride the front into our area. We've seen that plenty of times with tropical systems that have entered here. That's oftentimes what happens. Whenever a tropical system ends here, they'll come onto a cold front eventually and get sucked up rather than pushed away. That could give us some significant rain, but that's a big question mark at this point. It's something worth noting that it's possible, and it's something that we'll keep a lookout for, but right now that's not what the modeling is showing, unfortunately. It's a long shot. Keep your fingers crossed, though, because the reality is, with the pattern that we're in right now with a very strong El Nino, it looks like a very dry fall is going to come our way, and we're going to need some sort of a system like this to really give us some significant rains to keep that drought from getting worse. So maybe cross your fingers, and we don't want it to go to a hurricane status, but maybe if we can get a significant low, a borderline tropical storm to move on and can bring some accumulating rain with it, that would certainly be a good thing to end it. But as I've said, for right now, it doesn't look like anything's going to happen for several more days. There's one very small chance over the next 10 days, and then you've got to come out even several more days after that before you get another very small chance of some stuff moving through. So here's the way the forecast shakes out right now. You can go to southernindianaweather.com, click on 10-day forecast to get this, and what you can see is just the above normal pattern continues. Beautiful sunshine weather, a few days that have more clouds than other days, but temperatures hanging out in the low to mid 80s at times for the most part. And really, you got to go until a week from tomorrow before I've got any rain in the forecast. And again, it's only a 30% chance. Right now, the modeling wants to take it more of a drier front, which is very small chances. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that becomes just a soaking rain, because we could certainly need it. But right now, not looking overly promising for us at this point, folks. Dry fall on the way, unfortunately. Could that pattern lead into the wintertime? Well, we are under an El Nino. El Ninos tend to make us drier than normal around the area, so that is certainly possible. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. Again, my winter forecast gets released in the beginning of November, and of course one of the things I'm looking for is how does the fall react with the El Nino, because that could be a predictor of it. And right now, fall is playing out very dry and warm for us. That doesn't necessarily mean the winter will be warm, but we will see. All right, folks, that's for another time down the road. But for right now, warm and dry is going to be the rule of thumb, at least through mid-October. Let's hope we can get some changes going in there. All right, folks, I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night. We'll see you next time.